Pardon the wrestling, but I am Bryan, and you are watching After the Impact for the May 18th, 2023 edition of Impact Wrestling on AXS TV. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn that bell notification on for more content just like this. And hit the like button as well so more wrestling fans can find this video just like you did. If you are new to us, After the Impact is where we review the most recent episode of Impact Wrestling, and tonight's episode was another great 2 hours of pro wrestling. This was the penultimate episode of Impact before Under Siege next Friday, and the card continues to take shape, but let's just jump straight in the action. The action included Trey Miguel and Laredo Kid opening up the show, and this is likely Laredo Kid's last televised match for Impact. His contract has expired, and at the moment he is choosing free agency, so very interested to see what his future holds for him. They went for a handshake at the very start of the match, and by they I mean just Laredo Kid, because Trey Miguel kicked his hand away like the heel that he is. A lot of good mat wrestling to start off the match. There was a nice corner tope suicida from Laredo Kid early on. After that, Trey Miguel followed up with a very unique apron spot that saw some pretty nice transitions that I'll post here as well. Trey Miguel worked Laredo Kid's lower back and then hit that Eddie Guerrero shimmy for some good heel heat. It's one thing you don't do, and that's disrespect the late great Eddie Guerrero. After that, there's a nice blockbuster style looking move. If you know what the name of this move is, let me know in the comment section down below. It just looked awesome. Most of the awesome throughout the match, however, went to Trey Miguel, as it should, for his Under Siege match coming up with Chris Sabin, who just had to look really strong heading into that. The finish came when Trey Miguel ripped off Laredo Kid's mask and he rolled him up. Like I said, one-sided match, but it's still fun to watch these two go. And like I say, usually when I watch a good match, I can usually see them go for a lot longer. This is definitely a case of that. Very good match. After the match, Laredo Kid was gone. Trey Miguel started cutting a promo on Chicago, saying that they were supposed to have some of the toughest Americans around, but they're all just a bunch of whiny bitches. He said he didn't get any respect from the fans or the suits in the back, and he's going to hold the show hostage until he gets that respect. Back from break, Chris Sabin came out, and someone get this man some new music because it is very generic. Chris Sabin said he did not earn respect because immediately he disrespected the X Division title by spray painting it. This disrespected the legacy built by AJ Styles, Low Key, Jerry Lynn, Amazing Red, Alex Shelley, Petey Williams, Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, Speedball Mike Bailey, Rich Swann, Josh Alexander. Chris Sabin said that you disrespected all of us. If you want respect, you better give respect. And he told him that he'll be a 9-time champ, and Trey Miguel let him say 9 times. And Chris Sabin told him to get the hell out of this ring, and Trey Miguel regretfully obliged to that, as he looked very pissed off doing so. Backstage, Trinity was warming up for her debut match later on in the show. Jay Vidal came up and said that Giselle Shaw was very pissed off about the selfie that Trinity took. Trinity said, "I didn't take that, you did." Trinity said that if she has a problem, to come talk to her about it. And Jay Vidal said that she isn't cleared this week. And Trinity said, "Well, I have an open contract for Under Siege, which is next week." So it appears that Trinity's first match will be with Giselle Shaw at Under Siege. Her first pay-per-view match, that is. Sami Callihan and Rich Swann sit down. They're discussing their history together. They still don't have a third partner for Under Siege just yet against the design. I'm sure we'll find out next week or at the pay-per-view itself. Next match was Ace Austin versus Jason Hotch. They all had their partners at ringside. Brian Myers was out there with the good hands. Back and forth match right out the gate. There's an early distraction from Brian Myers that let Jason Hotch get the upper hand for a little bit. This also included hitting a very beautiful standing Spanish fly, which, if there's one thing I'm a huge mark for, it's the Spanish fly. It's this awesome looking move. Eventually, Jason Hotch got the schoolboy roll up after Brian Myers hit Ace Austin in the face after Ace went for a pin attempt that sent him towards Brian Myers' ringside, and the ref's back was still turned from counting the pin, and Hotch got the victory here. So I imagine we'll see a tag match between the two teams for the titles, because I'm going to just assume ABC defends successfully against Subculture at Under Siege. That'll probably be match of the night, by the way. Backstage, we had Steve Maclin with Shira and Champagne Singh. Maclin said that they're back in good graces after their attack on Heath last week. Jordan Grace was being interviewed by Gia Miller. Jordan said that she wants Deonna Purrazzo at her best so she can prove that she can beat Deonna at her best. Alicia Edwards interrupted and Jordan made her flinch. And I imagine we'll see these two wrestle at some point here in the near future. Trinity and Kylan King was up next. This was Trinity's Impact Wrestling debut, at least in-ring wise. Trinity got their early control, did a few pin attempts, including a really cool-looking split-legged pin. That was a near fall. Taylor Wilde distraction let Kylan King get control of the match, focusing on Trinity's back early on. They tried doing the bridge up out of the pin, the part where you got one of the wrestlers on the ground getting pinned and the other one's on top stacked back towards the wrestler, and they try to bridge up. Didn't go over very well as they had to do it a couple times before kind of getting it done. After that, ref caught Taylor getting involved in the match and threw her out. Trinity jumped off the top rope and hit a crossbody that I'm going to start calling the Uso crossbody. It looked just like the Usos coming off the top rope. It was really cool looking. This is awesome chant started after that. Kylan King hit a very beautiful Death Valley driver, and much like I'm a huge mark for the Spanish Fly, I love a good DVD. It was a near fall for 2, and we had a very impressive finish here that showed Trinity's wrestling abilities here, and she got the tap out for Kylan King on a move she's calling the Starstruck. After that, Jay interrupted the celebration and said that he has a message from Giselle, and that Giselle accepts the open challenge for Under Siege. Jay said that he also has another message from Giselle and tried to slap Trinity, but she caught it and then kicked him. So pretty good match between Trinity and Kylan King. Trinity showing off that she can go in the ring, and she had a very good dance partner for her first match in Impact. So there's something to be said if you think that Trinity should have been saved for a pay-per-view in terms of her in-ring debut. I liked it being here on AXS, so people had a chance to see her if they haven't already, and just, give a reason to tune into the show as well. So this was a very good match between these two, and they're treating her like a star so far. I love it. Backstage, Macklin, Shera, and Singh beat the hell out of PCO, including putting concrete blocks on him and Macklin breaking him with a sledgehammer. PCO sold the absolute hell out of this. It was almost cringeworthy how he was selling it. And I mean cringeworthy in the best way possible for this, because he was just in agony. After that, the Coven confronted Jessica backstage looking for Rosemary. Went back to the ring for a match between Sierra and Jody Threat. This was essentially a squash match, just another enhancement match for Jody Threat. She won with her F5 finisher. Backstage with Kazarian and Eddie Edwards, Eddie suggested during their match that Kaz follows his lead. A little more on that later. After that, we were backstage again with Dirty Dango and Zicky Dice and Johnny Swinger. Dango said that after dealing with them last week, he knows there's no way they attack Santino. And after that, our favorite Joe Hendry showed up. Dirty Dango called Joe an egomaniac, and this is when my heart dropped, because I knew right then and there this was going to be the end of the line for these two. I loved this pairing, at least as a team, if you will, trying to investigate the attack on Santino. But after Dango called him an egomaniac for taking the spotlight after Dango's win last week, he accused Joe Hendry of attacking Santino. And then Joe and Dango got into a scuffle, and this involved Joe ripping Dango's shirt, which revealed a patch of hair missing, revealing that Dirty Dango was, in fact, the one that attacked Santino. After that, Dirty Dango left Joe Hendry lying on the floor, so I assume we'll see these two going at it at Under Siege. If not, maybe a little later on. But that should be a fun little program. And man, it's a shame, because I really like the pairing between those two as a team. I mean, I don't recall them teaming together. Again, I'm kind of slowly wading my way into Impact Wrestling, and just watching those two interact backstage with the Fashion Files style investigation of the attack on Santino is just great. Next week, we got a couple matches announced. We got Rich Swann versus Angels and Speedball Bailey versus Chris Sabin. This should be a terrific match. Can't wait for that one. That's going to be an absolute I hope they gave them a lot of time. If this was recorded in Chicago, it was the second night, and I wish I was there for the second night because holy smokes. Speedball versus Chris Sabin should be fun. After that, it was time for our main event. So this was Moose, Eddie Edwards, and Frankie Kazarian teaming up against Alex Shelley, Jonathan Gresham, and then Yuya Uemura. Right off the bat, Shelley and Eddie Edwards started off. Quick tags to Kaz, and then Kaz immediately tagged Moose. Both of those tags were very aggressive. So Alex Shelley tagged in Yuya Uemura after that, back and forth between both teams with a lot of on-the-mat wrestling in the early going. Gresham's team took the momentum into the break, and then after that, Gresham's team worked on Eddie Edwards' leg for the first half of the match out of the break too. So a lot of work on Eddie Edwards' leg, try to take out some of that power. Yuya Uemura got some extended time in the ring with Moose, got plenty of offense in too. Eventually, Gresham tagged in, and the match really picked up after that because there's a sequence with Moose and Kaz that was really nice. Eventually, everyone just started piling into the ring, and we got our 6 men just kind of essentially going at it. The two teams, they were still being very, one team versus another. They weren't all infighting. On the Moose, Eddie Edwards, and Kazarian side, they were infighting, which we'll get to in just a second. So Moose caught Gresh on a tope and almost powerbombed him on the outside, and then Yuya Uemura had a nice flying crossbody to the outside. Back in the ring, Kazarian accidentally hit Eddie Edwards, and then Alex Shelley hit Eddie with the shell shock for the win. So, fun 6-man tag. Definitely something that you should go back and watch if you haven't already. It's pretty hard to, I guess, verbally describe. It was a lot of action that you just really need to go watch. So, between this and the Trinity match, these are 2 very good matches for this show, and it was very enjoyable overall. So, for the actual main event finish, I thought Alex Shelley was going to be Steve Maclin's next challenger. After that finish and him getting the victory, I don't necessarily see that happening now. They might give it to Kazarian. I'd actually be shocked if Alex Shelley got it this time around. They have been building up Frankie Kazarian after his comeback with the videos, the vignettes. I don't recall seeing one during this episode, so I believe they're done with the sit down with them. So I could see Kazarian getting that win and getting the next match with Steve Maclin. I don't think Kazarian's the next champion by any means. I honestly don't know who the next champion might be. If it is Kazarian, it's not going to be right away. I think we got a few more months of Maclin being champion. Hell, Maclin may hold it until Alexander's good to come back, so who knows? But overall, just another good episode of Impact. So I feel at this point we're just killing time until Under Siege. At least for me, I just can't wait for this Under Siege card. It looks great. And we may be adding Dirty Dango and Joe Hendry to the card. So we'll see how that goes. Officially, we got Rich Swann added to that 6-man tag. I mentioned last week that that's likely where we're heading for the Sami Callihan versus the Design 6-man tag match. So that should be a fun brawl between those 6, whoever that 6th person is. And of course, during last week's episode, they added the no DQ to PCO versus Maclin. So again, like I said, a good episode of Impact, which was highlighted by Trinity's in-ring debut for Impact and that 6-man tag at the end in the main event. And of course, a good match to start off the show with Trey Miguel and Laredo Kid as well. So, and I'm scrolling through my notes. Ace Austin versus Jason Hotch had a good match too. So a lot of good wrestling to enjoy from this show. A very quick 2 hours. That's one thing I notice about watching Impact is the shows just go by so quick. It's one thing after another, and I mean this in a good way. So you're constantly moving. There's no lulls, and the action in ring is very good. You're not being, what's the best way of saying it? You're not being insulted, I guess, watching these matches. It's just good wrestling. So to see what they're doing on a weekly basis on AXS is just great. And if you haven't already, find a way to watch it. Impact on YouTube, Impact Plus, whatever it is. If you have access on your television provider, watch it. So again, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, like it as well, because it's how others will find this content just like you did. If you missed our video last week, we are doing a giveaway for WWE 2K23. Go to last week's video to find out how to win it. I'll also link it in the description below as well, so you can get a quick link to it. And we'll be doing an Under Siege live review right here on the channel, so stay tuned for that as well. And make sure you subscribe so you can get notified when that actually goes live. So again, thank you for your support, and we'll catch you on the next one.